Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me again. It is week three, or the third installment of Call Your Sister Blog. I am her because I am her. So for this week, I thought I would delve into another passion of mine where I thought my career would go, but it didn't wind up that way. And I'm referring to science. I used to be and still am a huge science nerd. Um, s- I always took advanced science classes. I read up on uh, different subjects regarding science, and I wanted to pay homage to the women who have made it possible. We as women have been in the science community since the 1840s. Yes, 1840. It's 2023, and I am proud to say that we have come a long way since then, regards to science anyway. I found this really cool article on sciencefocus.com. I will post the exact link later. It has 22 pioneering women in science history you should really know about. And I read through and I loved like the first seven I read. So I'm going to go through these and talk about briefly what they've done for us and how they've helped the world, the community, everything regards to science. So let's get into it. First up, Rosalind Franklin. She contributed to the discovery of the structure of DNA. Now, that's big because DNA is everything. DNA allows scientists to be able to see what types of diseases that we could possibly have from our family line, our genetic code. It goes into genetics with DNA. You're talking about a whole different separate thing of just science. It's just genetics and DNA and learning about our bodies. And that is enormous. So thank you, Rosalind Franklin. She was a chemist born in 1920. And in 1942, she brought her physics and chemistry expertise to London Coal, where she investigated the properties of carbon. Now, remember, I said this was 1942. What was happening in the 1940s? If you're a war history buff, you probably guessed the war was going on. This was crucial to the war effort. So they were able to rely on coal and carbon uh, as strategy for equipment like gas masks. And when you think of gas masks, how many countries use gas masks? Especially with nuclear wars, especially with air quality. The mask I have on now, this would not have been if gas masks were not created. Uh, so yes, go Rosalind. Um, I'm scrolling. Janet Taylor. She designed instruments for nautical navigation. So, this lovely lady was born in 1804. I told you we've been making waves since 1840. You thought I was joking, didn't you? She was the sixth child of a reverend, and um, trying to get to the good stuff, guys. So she conducted her own nautical academy in Minories in the east of the city, which was not too far from the Tower of London. If you recognize or know what that is, you live in London. It's a huge um, architecture. Maybe I'll cover architecture next week. She ran a manufacturing business for nautical instruments, many of which she designed herself. She so not only was she designing these herself, but she was probably one of the first entrepreneurs. Yeah. Through her scientific work, Janet established a respectful correspondence with those in high positions in the maritime community. Men like the head of Admiralty's Hydrographic Office, Captain, later Rear Admiral Sir Francis Beaufort, and Professor Sir George Biddle Airy, the Astronomer Royal. While they were hesitant at first, as most men are with us, she clearly won their support and respect, and between 1617 and 1852, there were 79 patents awarded for nautical instruments, and Janet was the only woman among them for her mariner's calculator. So I was incorrect. We have actually been going back to the 1600s and doing wonderful things with science. So thank you, Janet. Thank you for your contributions. And thank you for showing men that we have so much knowledge and you just need to step aside and make space for us. And if you don't, we'll bring our own chairs. It's not a problem. Beatrice Schilling. When I read about this, I thought it was so badass. I was like, I have to share. So Beatrice Schilling was a daredevil motorcyclist and an engineer who saved fighter pilots' lives. I don't know if you can see that picture of her. Isn't that badass? So she was born in 1909 to a aeronautical engineer. No, reading the wrong thing. So Beatrice was born in 1909. She was an aeronautical engineer and a daredevil motorcycle racer, Beatrice Tilly Schilling, and she's credited by helping her peers as helping the Allies to win World War II. Yeah, we all know how disastrous it would have been if World War II went another way. She purchased her first motorcycle at 14 and later obtained a bachelor and master's degree in mechanical engineering, specializing in the elimination of piston temperatures of high diesel engines. And in March of 1941, she solved a problem that had jeopardized the life of pilots. So she's a daredevil. She's saving lives, and she has her bachelor's and her master's in mechanical engineering. I tip my hat to you. Thank you, Beatrice, for all that you have done. Okay, so number 4. I think this is number 4. Dorothy Hodgkin. Now, does that name sound familiar? I don't know if she had anything to do with Hodgkin's lymphoma, but she did discover the structure of insulin. And how important is that? Insulin is needed for so many people, diabetes especially. But insulin can be used for other diseases, I believe. And it's one of those medical technologies that I don't know where we would be if we didn't have insulin. She was born in 1910. She was the oldest of 4 kids. And she attended a secondary school where only boys were allowed to study chemistry, but she fought the system to be enrolled. So right off the bat, when she was attending secondary school, she was making waves. Eventually, she was admitted to Oxford, where she was recognized as exceptional, which, I mean, we already knew that from her fight in secondary school. She obtained her PhD from Cambridge in 1936 and undertook research mapping the architecture of cholesterol and examining the structure of penicillin, essential to creating a synthetic version of it. And penicillin is a medicine we still use to this day. I, for one, cannot take penicillin because I get extremely dizzy and literally pass out. But for others, it helps. Her work led to many industrial contracts, and from the 1950s onward, she focused her research on the structure of insulin, building the first model of the insulin molecule. And here she is doing the thing. In 1964, she won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, and she was only the third woman, three, to have won a Nobel Prize for Chemistry after Marie Curie and Marie Curie's daughter Irene Joliot Curie. That's incredible. Thank you, Dorothy, for all that you have done for science and just rocking it and fighting the whole way. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one, and then I'm gonna do another one, and then wrap it up. So Sophia Louisa Jex Blake. She was one of the Edinburgh Seven who fought to study medicine. So Dorothy was fighting just for her to get into secondary school at an all boys school so she could study chemistry. Sophia was born in 1840 in England. She was homeschooled until 8 and obtained a job as a tutor mathematics to young girls. Her father, appalled at the idea that his daughter would work, would not allow her to be paid. So after that, she was still tutoring people, but she wasn't able to get paid for it because her father forbade it, which that is such BS. But let's see what else she did. In 1869, she published an essay, Medicine as a Profession for Women. However, as no English medical school will accept women, Jex Blake pressed her case in Scotland in 1869. And although the faculty and the academic senate supported her admission, it was overturned by the university court on the basis that the university could not make necessary arrangements in the interest of one lady. Undaunted, she advertised in the Scotsman newspaper, which resulted in 6 other women joining her cause. Um, Eventually, the University of Edinburgh admitted them. They were the first university in Britain to admit women to their university. Yes! The University of Edinburgh is a very big university. And just the fact that they uh, were the first in Britain to admit women, that's just amazing to me. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, Sophia, thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for fighting when everybody told you no. It really reminds me of all the things that I've had to encounter as being an entrepreneur. I get told no all the time. No, that's not going to work. No, you're going to have to charge people for this. No, you can't have a nonprofit. Let me tell you, I'm turning all those no's into yeses because I'm not giving up. And last but certainly not least, and this is a name that you may recognize, Katherine Johnson. Now, if you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, which I have not, I know, shame on me. Um, she was featured in the movie. She was one of the characters. Um, Taraji P. Henson actually portrayed her in the movie, which I love Taraji. I think she's amazing. So, Katherine Johnson was a mathematician. She worked on NASA's early space missions. She died in 2020 at the age of 101. What a long and fulfilled life. She was one of the computers who solved equations by hand during NASA's early years and those of its precursor organizations, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Could you imagine doing high level mathematics by hand? This was before, calculators and the internet. This was in the 50s. We had no technology. Johnson and other black women initially worked in a racially segregated computing unit in Hampton, Virginia, that was not officially dissolved until NACA became NASA in 1958. Science had dictated which toilets the women could use as well. So that just goes to show and tell me that no matter where you were in the 1950s, it was segregated, no matter where. She was working at NASA. NASA! That's a high level place, even in the 50s. Everybody has always wanted to work at NASA. I mean, when you hear NASA, you know what you're doing. You have arrived if you're in science and you're working at NASA and you're still being told which toilets to use. Catherine focused on planes and other research at first, but her work at NASA's Langley Research Center eventually shifted to Project Mercury, the nation's first human space program. That is amazing. In 1961, she did trajectory analysis for Alan Shepard's Freedom 7 mission, the first mission to carry an American into space. Woo! And at age of 97 in 2015, President Barack Obama awarded Johnson the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Catherine, thank you so much for fighting to be in the areas where they told us we could not be. Thank you for pushing and doing it with such grace in class. Thank you for all of the ladies of science I listed. There are 22 on this website. I didn't want to go through all 22. I thought that would be a little overkill. But I am going to post the full link here. That way you can view it if you would like. I hope you've enjoyed episode 3. Next week, I'm not sure who I will talk about, what I will dive into. So far, we've done literature. We have done TV and film. We have done science. Tell me who you want to hear about next. We have another blog coming out the 22nd. It's on our website, callmysister.com. I love you guys. And remember, you can always call your sister.